Hello, welcome back. Thank you for tuning in today. We're going to look at some foundational principles here in our discussion today. And we're going to consider what this course really means, what it says, of course, and what it actually really means. Now, this may sound extraordinarily basic. It is. We need this on the path as spiritual students, as students of this course. So, whether you are a long-time student of A Course in Miracles or you're newer, or whether you're just checking this out, perhaps YouTube recommended this video series and you've joined us and you are not a student of A Course in Miracles, that makes absolutely no difference. Welcome. No matter where you are on your journey, you are meant to be here. So I invite you to kindly stick around. No doubt you'll notice the title for today's conversation. This never happened, and I was never here. We see this in the movies, and we may have said something like that when we attempted to resolve a situation in the world by simply pretending that it never existed. Or, shall we say, acknowledging that it never existed. Acknowledging that it never existed. This course is literal. There are, of course, many metaphors that play out, that are presented in A Course in Miracles. One example is lilies of forgiveness, for example. That's a metaphor. Of course, there are many metaphors that play out as this course has been dictated to us. It's over 1,000 pages long when you put together all of the components, after all. What this amounts to is a repetition of certain ideas over and over again in different forms because we don't actually, as we study this material, know when something is going to click. When it does, it's beautiful, isn't it? It has happened to many of you where a light simply goes on, and something that you may have wrestled with the intellectual thinking mind in the past, all of a sudden becomes crystal clear to you and you get it. Oh, yeah, that could be today. So we repeat these simple ideas over and over again. And no doubt you've discovered in your own walk, on your own spiritual journey, that the attitude of, that's so yesterday, I've seen that before, that attitude is completely unhelpful. So it's pervasive in pop culture, no matter where you may live in the world. Let's leave that behind, shall we? We need this repetition as adult learners, especially here as we study and practice this course, because the basic, simple ideas are the ones that we struggle the most with. So let's cut through our resistance today, shall we? No doubt you'll have noticed the title again. This never happened, and I was never here. This, in fact, never did happen. I was never here. I was never here, nor were you ever here, nor was your ex ever here, or your political enemies or allies. None of us was ever here. If you've not heard it before, here is the central teaching of A Course in Miracles. There is no world. I don't expect that anyone is going to latch on to that right away. You may experience tremendous resistance, or maybe you don't. Maybe this really hits home for you. So if there is no world, where are we? Well, that's in fact a good question. God is, period. End of discussion, mic drop, video over. God is. All right, well, let's say some more, shall we? What's implicit in that two-syllable statement is that only God is. God is the only reality. Here's another basic statement that's worth coming back to over again, over and over and over. Ideas leave not their source. Ideas leave not their source. In other words, thoughts remain in the mind of the thinker. You'll note here as you study and practice this material that we're known here in A Course in Miracles as the thought of God, the extension of God. In other words, an idea. Ideas leave not their source. Capital S. Thoughts remain in the mind of the thinker. You are the thought of God, the extension of God, and like extends like. Love extends itself. Where are you? Really? Yeah, we're all at home in God. This world of multiplicity, of constant change, excess activity, frustration, and the weird and wild alternation of bliss and warfare is a dream. It is a dream. It never took place, and we were never here in a physical locale which stands separate from other separate locations. There is no separation of any kind. God is whole and one, literally. The supposedly rational, what we call the intellectual thinking mind, has a lot of trouble grasping this. It attempts to cogitate on this and break it down into component parts, but it cannot be broken down into component parts, nor, in fact, can it be grasped with the intellectual thinking mind. Understanding these basic principles is important. However, it pales in comparison to our experience of these basic principles. Even here in our madness, we can experience who we are. It's through putting the ideas in this course into practical, moment to moment, everyday application that we learn truly our experience of applying these ideas honestly applying these ideas. It is our practice that shows us, that proves to us, in effect, that these ideas are true, that we are one with God. The Son of God is the extension of God. The Son of God is not a compound body of flesh and bones and cartilage and mucus and stuff that's, in fact, 80% water. We all know this deep down, or we would not be interested in what we call spirituality. We're invited, as we study A Course in Miracles, to accept what is referred to as atonement for ourselves. Now, this does not mean getting back at somebody and exacting revenge for someone's transgression, apparent transgression against you. No, not that. In A Course in Miracles, atonement is the correction of our inner teacher. We accept the correction of our inner teacher, the Holy Spirit, Jesus, your guide or guides, whatever you want to call it. You may call it whatever you want. The Holy Spirit is part of our mind that sees through our illusions and will guide us to set them aside if only we let Him, if only we let it. It's part of us. So we're not appealing to an outside power when we appeal to our inner teacher for guidance. Accepting atonement for ourselves is accepting the correction of our inner teacher. We don't see things as they are. We're asking to be shown how they are and to set our illusions to the side so that we may see them as they are. Central to this is the acknowledgement that the separation never occurred. This never happened, and I was never here. Ever. There is no world. That, in fact, is the central teaching of A Course in Miracles, and Jesus says so here in the Course. So don't expect anyone to be beating down your door, clamoring to have this knowledge. It doesn't always stick the first time we hear it, does it? In fact, we're meant to experience resistance on the path because we've become so conditioned to seeing ourselves as an individual human being, which we're not, that these ideas can seem really far-fetched, crazy, weird, woo-woo, far out, and wrong. They are not wrong. But if you don't believe it, not a problem. You know what? You don't have to. Yet something has compelled you to watch this series in the past, or if this is the first time, something has compelled you to continue watching. So I invite you to stick with it. This is a dream. A Course in Miracles is far from the only spiritual tradition to posit that this world is a dream. This world of multiple bodies, of multiplicity, of compound phenomena, and billions of life forms. Well, it's more than that when you count all the microscopic life forms and insects and birds and fish, everything that appears to inhabit this spinning ball of rock at the same time we appear to inhabit this illusion, spinning ball of rock illusion. There is no world, remember. This can be a lot to take in. So we're spending some time on it today, which I invite you to do. So who and what are you? Well, we just answered that question. Ideas leave not their source. God is the all in all. Who is your brother? Who are you? The body is an illusion. The world is an illusion. You, who you really are, you are not illusion. You are the all in all, just as God is the all in all. Now, here's the thing. He is the creator, the author. Like extends like. This cannot be understood in terms of our illusory model of historical time, linear time. You were created perfect, not flawed, perfect. This illusion of separation is a dream. It's a dream. I invite you to, if you take nothing else away from this conversation, I mean, nothing else, whatever, to repeat this idea to yourself whenever it occurs to you. This is a dream. This is a dream. This is a dream. This room around me is a dream. If you've studied the workbook, nothing I see means anything. This computer screen does not mean anything. Right at the beginning of the workbook for students. Why does it not mean anything? What computer screen? What body? What world? This is a dream. It is not you. Now, you may find it helpful to consider what appears to happen when we dream at night or when we're taking a nap in the afternoon, when we're asleep. We dream and we see things that are not there. We're flying, we're flapping our wings like a bird and flying, or we're leaping over buildings, over continents. We're traversing the planets and the solar system, or we have a succession of weird, wacky, and wild things happening that when we see them, they look real. They seem completely real to us. We taste, touch, feel, smell things that aren't there. It's a dream. Yet it seems super, super real to us. Maybe scary, maybe blissful, maybe a combination of both. Yet when we awaken, the dream is gone. It's no longer there. And we instantly recognize that it was a dream. In fact, it was never there. Exactly. This, again, can be a lot to digest. We can only go so far, incidentally, with this intellectual, rational, thinking mind that we so adore and worship. Don't worry, I've also prostrated to this rational, intellectual, thinking mind. I have a doctorate degree, so I have done some serious investing in the values of the world. Perhaps you have too, and you don't have to have a degree of any kind. Whether you do or don't makes absolutely no difference. This course is a self-study curriculum that's readily accessible by anyone, any place, any time. It is universal in theme and application. It makes no difference what your religious or spiritual background is or is not, or what you're currently practicing, if anything. Doesn't matter. This is universal. So we take, this being a self-study curriculum, we take what we want to take at a given time. We take what we're willing to take at a given time. So our question can become, as a practical matter, what are we willing to take at a given time? Ideas leave not their source. God is. There is no separation of any kind. Separation from God is impossible. This never happened, and I was never here. Indeed, I'm fond of saying that this is a pixelated image on your screen, which it is, of course. It's an assemblage of dots. It's part of what I mean by that. This never happened, and I was never here. You weren't here. Your neighbor was not here. It's a dream, remember, from which we're awakening. It's why enlightenment is called awakening. That makes sense. So what do we do with this illusory body. Give it over to your inner teacher. Let him take control. Again, you're not ceding power and control to an outside power because the Holy Spirit is part of our mind. It's part of us. Give your entire experience over to your inner teacher, your relationships, your business, your job, every moment of every day, your speech, your body, especially. Give it over to the purpose of healing the mind. That's what this course is all about. How it looks for you may appear to look very differently from how it looks for someone else. So let me comment that that is simply a distinction of outward form. The content, the essence of what we're all about here is exactly the same. In fact, you can say this about any spiritual tradition. The core, the essence, is exactly the same. All roads lead to God in the end. And of course, there appear to be many roads, don't there? There are many doors, as I'm fond of saying. A Course in Miracles is simply one of them. However, if you wish to set the ego aside directly, you could choose to accept atonement for yourself, accept the correction and the guidance of our inner teacher, and awaken, because this is a dream. This never happened, and you were never here. What do you do when you appear to be here? Give your experience over to your inner teacher and begin, if you have not begun, to truly forgive. Look past the illusion to the truth, to the essence of who your brother is, because there's no separation of any kind. There's only perfect oneness. Your brother is you, literally. So it's readily apparent. It's clear, of course, that there are many interpretations of spirituality. This course means what it says. That's why this video series is, well, insistent on what this course actually means. God is. All else is illusion. Who you really are is one with God. Remember that. Interpretations may appear to differ, and there are many of them. There is sectarianism everywhere you look in the world. People have assigned one interpretation or another to what this course says or to what any spiritual tradition says. Think of the traditional religions and all of the sectarianism that has developed over time. For example, the beauty and indeed the genius of A Course in Miracles is in the fact that it is self-study. So anyone in the future, no matter what may get put out there in terms of sectarian warfare, for, well, that's an accurate word, isn't it? Warfare. Whatever gets put out there in the future, whatever interpretations and misinterpretations happen to turn up in the world, this is a self-study curriculum. One can simply get a hold of the course and study it. under the guidance of our inner teacher, we can discover truth for ourselves, no matter what the outside noise may appear to look like. It's self study. I'm not in charge of you, for which I'm very grateful. I mean, really, truly, I'm here as a guide to help you along the way. Yes, but this is not a hierarchical situation at all. Because there is no separation of any kind, a hierarchy with multiple tiers is in fact impossible. Impossible. Illusion and a dream that never existed. Remember, this never happened and I was never here. So, wrapping up with that, along the way, questions are bound to arise. Why we've been conditioned to think we're an individual human being, separate from all our brothers. We take this illusion, this dream of separation, this perceived separation to be fact and reality. It is not fact. It is not reality. God is fact, capital F. Because like extends like, we were created perfect. We were not created flawed or with the propensity to believe we broke off and separated. This is a dream, remember. It's why we call enlightenment awakening. So, to the extent that questions occur to you, this is in fact an excellent place to bring them. Because what we're looking at here, quite clearly, is really deep. It is deep self inquiry. Questions are bound to arise. Inquiry is part of that image, after all. So, to the extent that you have questions, please feel welcome to leave them. And I want to invite you that if your question seems to you to be too basic for all of us, oh, it is not too basic. These are basic ideas that we need as students of this course to come back to over and over again, because again, you never know when the day might come where you get it, where that proverbial light goes on. Your question that appears to you to be a question of a rank beginner could in fact help not only you, but someone who has been studying this material for 27 years or more. On the other side of the spinning ball of illusory rock, whom you're not likely to ever meet in person in this lifetime. You don't know how far reaching your practice is. It's more powerful than you can possibly imagine. Let me say that. Questions, if you've got them. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so. I invite you to do that. The prompt is here in the corner of your screen. Click or hover over that arrow and you'll be invited to join us. It's a growing international community. Thank you to those of you who have recently subscribed and joined us here. There have been a handful of you, and multiple videos appear each week. For the sake of consistency, because we need that on the path. So allow these dialogues to be a supplement to your learning. They are not designed to substitute in any way for your study and practice of this material, and they're not designed to substitute for your true forgiveness, which is critical. So, thank you for tuning in. I will speak to all of you very, very soon.